I lived in Slovakia from 1991 to 2004. Yes, I was born in 1991. I'm 24 years old, very young. I've got a long future ahead. But living in Slovakia was probably one of the worst memories I've ever had. I am coming from the Roma culture, officially a Slovakian, but there's nothing I can prove to you that I am a Roma. Few years ago, proving to someone else that I can speak a Romani language was an evidence of being a Roma. But these days, even a non-Roma people will speak the language. So actually, I have no proof whatsoever to prove that I am a Roma. In other words, officially I am still classed to be a Slovakian. And a few weeks ago, I've seen on the news little documentary with the head teacher in Slovakia. I cannot tell her name for confidentiality, but she was asked a question saying, how many Roma children do you have in school? And she said, none. Actually, the school is a Roma school, all Roma school. And she was right in a statutory that there's no Roma school because everybody has a passport saying, I am a Slovakian, I speak Slovak. So none of us has a Roma passport or to say we speak Romani. Obviously, I personally, my parents, their parents, generation and generations went to a school only with Roma children, a very segregated place, school, with children who are not multicultural, only children who speak Romani. And therefore, we was brought up in a mother tongue language, which is Romani. And let me tell you something about the Romani language. Romani language is an Indo-Iranian language. It has approximately 3,000 vocabularies. It's not a formal communication. You cannot find books in the language, in the Romani language, and it's not a written form of communication. And then we have other parents talking to us in Romani language, but very limited. For example, these days we can talk to our kids in English, saying there's a table, it's a square shape, it has 4 legs, you can put chairs there, we have a dinner on the table, and so on. In Romani, it's just a table. And not many other Romanis had a table, because where I'm from was a very poor. Very poor. We live maybe few other families in a very small room. And I won't even call that a house because most of the houses were built with woods, something maybe like a cottage. Very, very poor. And that's where I come from. Majority of people, when they talk to me, say, are you a Slovakian? Are you a proper Slovakian? Are you Eastern European? I say, no, I'm a Roma. I'm a Roma. And when we I'm a Roma, and I'm very proud to be here and say that I'm a Roma. This is probably the only place that I can have the courage to say, hey, I'm a Roma. I don't have to say I'm a Slovakian, I'm a Roma. I speak Romani. It's the way I was accepted here in a multicultural country. Let me go back in the Romani language. So we start to talk to our kids in the Romani language, very limited vocabulary, by the age when they were 6, and that's where the compulsory age, where they have to go to a school in Slovakia. And guess what? They have to learn another language, which is a Slovak language. So they're 6, where they're very poor, well behind with the Romani language, and therefore they go into a school to learn a Slovak language and everything else in a Slovak language. So obviously very, very, very difficult. Personally, I failed twice because back home you have to get certain marks, you have to sit an exam at the end of the year to move on to a next year, and I failed twice. I was in a process of becoming illiterate. Yes, I could not read, I could not write, very limited. And then certainly my father, who is in the audience, has made a decision. He said, I want a better life. I want to do something that is going to be very useful, very good for my children's future. He heard about England joining the EU and welcoming all the Eastern Europeans. He decided in June 2004, he decided to leave Slovakia and move to England. He had no money, nothing. I remember our family did a collection, said that you've got this money, buy tickets and go. Because he was kind of a clever man in the village. And he moved to Cardiff in South Wales. And he had about 2 months. He learned basic English. He found a job. He saved some money. He rented a flat. And then he sent us money. We moved to Cardiff in August 2004. But recently, I was on a waiting list to go to school. I went to school in Willows High School. Still remember the name of the school. And I was in year 9, no English, very limited, very little English. I couldn't even speak Slovak, bear in mind, not even Romani properly. And then, certainly, I was there seeing, could you imagine what it's like to see other culture? People you've never seen. Seeing different people, different language, different tradition. When we moved to England, it was very weird. We drive on a different side, you open the doors different way, the air was different, the food, cold, everything. I said, what's going on? I said, wow, okay, and it took me a long time to adapt to it. And went to school in Willows, and within a few months, I was expelled, permanently excluded from school, because I was called DD, which is Dangerous Dave. I was very violent, very, I can't find the words to describe myself, who I was. But I was a totally different person. I wasn't who I am now. And then I was kicked out from school. And then I got into a lot of trouble. I was on substance misuse, you name it. I was into everything. And I had no interest whatsoever about life, education, anything. Not interested at all. Living my own way. That was the thing. And again, my dad made his decision again. Let's move to Sheffield. In October 2007, moved to Sheffield. I met a few people who were my heroes, people who I met, who helped me to settle in England, who introduced me to certain things, who kind of opened my eyes in a good way, who didn't try to change me physically. You have to do this. This is England. You've got to learn the language. But they welcomed me. They loved me. They say, we're happy for you. We love you the way you are. But you've got a future, you can do this, you could study, you can become a doctor. I said, me, a doctor? I'm a Roma. And the mentality of Roma was, wherever Roma stand on grass will not grow. And whatever you study, it will never be useful. Because back in, I can talk about hundreds years ago, going to school wasn't compulsory, nothing at all. I come from a background where my dad is an educated man, but he doesn't have a formal qualification. He was well known and had an influence. He could become a mayor of the village, but he decided to move here. My mom is illiterate. She can't read, write. My parents, grandparents, none of them come. None of them did go to school. I'm probably the only person in my family and generation who are kind of interested in education. Moved to Cardiff, moved to Sheffield. Here he's go, learning English by himself, getting all these books, studying and everything. And even till now, I don't even have GCSEs. Nothing. I'm in process. I have applied for a BTEC Level 3 Health and Social Care. I've got a place. I am in a process of developing myself more and more with my career. And here I am. I can stand and say here that since I've met certain people showing me the way, teaching me, and everything else was something amazing. I've also met another very interesting man. And I believe everybody knows him in this place. Everybody probably heard about him. And yes, it is Jesus Christ. I became a Christian at a very, very young age. I was about 16 years old when I became a Christian. I started to be interested in Christianity. And I've actually met through my wife, because she was into that already. And when I met my wife, I was about 16 years old. Another interesting fact is that when I met her, I said to my parents, I want to get married to her. I said, well, you're becoming nearly 17. I said, yes, I do. Then we went to town hall in Sheffield, and I said, I would like to get married. How old are you? 17. How's your fiance? She's 18. So she's fine. She doesn't need permission from her parents, but I do. So I took a paper and I said to my family, I want to get married. And that was just very abnormal in a culture to get married at the age of 17. And there you go. I got married at the age of 17. And then I've got kids now. I've got 3 kids. And my kids' first language is probably English. They still speak Romani, but they are more native in the English language, which I'm very proud. I've spent a lot of time with my kids, and I'm still spending. And what I believe in, and let me tell you something about myself and my occupation. I work in a school for a few years now as a multilingual teaching assistant and EAL in school. I work in school where I hate school. And now I am a staff in school supporting and teaching kids, Roma kids and who are non-Roma kids. I'm there working with kids. And I've got a vision that I'm very, very fascinated about. I'm very delighted to say that I've got a vision to work with the Roma community, to promote the difference, to actually help them to succeed in a future life. And how are we going to do that? How can we do that? One man cannot change the future. It's all about a teamwork, working together with everyone. If we can actually understand where they come from, and I can stand here and tell you all about the history. I can tell you about everything they've been through, all my culture. Everybody heard about World War II, where many people have been through the killing and during the Holocaust and all that, but not many people do know about the Roma. I mean, I work in school and I've heard about our British kids were very protected. They were evacuated. Men went to the World War II. Females were working. Very good. They have had sirens, protection, shelters, everything. But back home, the Roma people were treated worse than animals, whatever. No protection, no warnings, no shelters, nothing. I remember because my nan was born in 1930, so she was 9 years old when she was going through all this. And she told me all about it, that it was very bad. Over 500,000 of people got killed, executed, physically murdered. It was very, very traumatic, very bad. In Sheffield, most of you probably know, I've got to just give you a practical tip to have to end. If you are interested in working with them, please build a trust and respect with them. Set the clear boundaries and be straightforward and assertive. Aim for a consistent worker who can be involved in long-term. Work in partnership with the parents. Empowerment, engage and confidence building with Roma community. Remember that Roma people are not necessarily aware of their rights and responsibilities. Actively encourage Roma people, not trying to change them. Good knowledge and understanding of a cultural, historical and ethnic background. Ensure that you can communicate properly with the family to educate Roma people about British culture and system. Thank you for your time.